Jones finds the Oscar movie as a film that an artistically minded and socially curious white male over 50 can really sink his teeth into. In a half a decade where there has not been just one but two instances of #OscarsSoWhite, there aren't as many artistically minded and socially curious white males over 50 in the Academy membership as there used to be. Yet, despite all the efforts that the Academy has made to change the makeup of its membership, an Oscar genre still has a strong foothold in the Academy. It may not be what was previously classified as an Oscar genre, but it still carries aspects of the older one melded alongside newer characteristics and expectations. I'm Chris Compendio, and that was me reading from our very own Izzy's show. Here's her piece. There is a new Oscar genre, and Black Panther is a part of it. So, Izzy, hello!
Hey!
We are doing episode 39 of AP Marvel with Anthony Paone.
Yo, what's up?
And Sabrina Clark.
Hey, everyone!
Very good energy here. We are all finally here together. I mean,
everyone's here. Everyone is here.
Everyone is here. We took a little break. You might not have been able to tell because we had an excellent Black Panther two-parter go out, but we were not doing anything while those were out. So
we were on break.
Yeah, pretty much. So we're back at it. We saw the Oscars.
Oh.
We got thoughts.
Oh no.
All right, so let's dig into this a little bit because man, it wasn't the ceremony was not as much of a mess as we thought it would be.
Yeah, it was actually enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were aspects that were still really bad, like I hated the opening speech, but it was pretty smooth. But you can obviously tell shit went down to get here.
Yeah. It was shorter.
Thank God.
And it bounced back in the ratings, is my understanding.
Yeah, in 5 years there's been a jump in ratings.
5 years? Okay, wow. Yeah. So I was kind of thinking a lot about the environment that the Oscars kind of inhabits. This is the 91st ceremony, I think?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious about, with all of the different controversies every single year, kind of the most prominent one, like maybe not like the most important one, but the most the one that changed the Oscars probably the most was The Dark Knight getting snubbed in 2008, because now there's kind of like this like you talked about the Oscar genre, Izzy, and if you want to kind of paraphrase what you wrote, how did that shift? Like what was the Oscar genre then? What is it now? And where is the Dark Knight? Where does the Black Panther kind of fit into all of that?
Yeah, so I think basically, like I defined the Oscar genre in my piece as pretty much like historical movies, whether it be drama or biopics or like even some comedy into it. Like The Favorite has like comedy, and that I think is still like inherently like an Oscar movie. But they try to be like, I guess, quote, to like sort of paraphrase my piece, they have like a more like quote unquote independent, i.e. like snobby vibe, like, oh, like we could be produced by some like, low budget studio, but it's from like when he was still around, like the Weinstein Company. Movies that are set in the present day like have like just are still kind of like a little bit like pretentious. Like think I love Birdman, but like sort of think Birdman level where like it very much had its nose up towards like the problems that it addressed about like the entertainment industry. Which I actually find out of the Oscar genre movies, those are the kind of movies that are most enjoyable for me. I think where the shift in the Oscar genre occurred, definitely came after the Weinstein sexual assault scandals. But and this genre change is like very, very new. Like I think you see last year's Oscars, you see like Get Out nominated, like Moonlight, a lot more films that have social issues or something to say, and that's the big sort of aspect now, like in Oscar, like Oscar movies, like for all its for like for everything, it seems like Black Panther is not an Oscar movie, if that makes any sense. Like, the aspects that you think doesn't make it an Oscar movie actually makes it an Oscar movie. Like, I think its cultural impact was just, like, an outer factor that just helped it a lot. But, like, the fact that it's discussion on, like, isolationism and, like, nationalism within, like, you know, the diaspora, the issues it addresses, like, its past and its impact, and the fact that it's like the fact that like it takes a stance about an issue, or like addresses like an issue and like encourages discussion. That is what makes it an Oscar movie. And the fact that you have like, yeah, like as I also mentioned, like nearly everyone involved has had like nominations or has won, like through Lupita Nyong'o, and so I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, certainly, specifically addressing Black Panther, which on the surface seemed like the most, I think, could seem like the most like non-Oscar genre movie. Like, it's still very much in this new genre, and I think the fact that now like they have these movies need to have something to say now in this, it just adds more to like the Oscar genre. But like for the most part, some like aspects of it have only shifted like slightly. Like it's still very much there, and this year's nominations like reflect that a lot.
Right. Remember that year where District 9 got nominated for Best Picture?
9?
Wait, really?
District 9.
District 9.
Not
yeah.
9. No.
Not 9, the animated movie?
or 9, the musical adaptation 9. No, neither of those. But District 9, that was the year. That was 2009.
Oh, jeez. So many nines in the past sentence.
Yeah, and The Dark Knight was a 2008 movie, so like 2009 was the first one with 10 nominees, and District 9 was one of them, which still kind of blows. I don't know if District 9 still holds up, but at the time that was a big deal. But
Yeah.
Anthony,
Yeah, what's up?
you are
Anchor.
old-ish.
Yeah, I'm old.
Yes.
I have age.
Do you have any early Oscar memories as a child? Like, did you ever watch with your parents or something like that? And,
No, I have zero memories, actually.
Wow.
Of
You don't remember any, like, Billy Crystal sketches and, like, all that kind of stuff?
I remember the ESPYs, but that's it, and that's because my mom...
Oh, yeah,
That's because my mom worked on them.
Yeah. So...
Oh, name drop. Did I name drop? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Layla's not here.
I have to fill over for the name dropping.
Layla's here, like, oh yeah, like, I know all these... I'm neighbors with all those people, but,
Yeah.
So, I mean, when did you get into the Oscar? I mean, I don't know if you're really into it still or at all, but when were you first interested in? Did you ever... we did a kind of a prediction game this year, so I'm kind of curious, when did that... when were you start to become wired in with the film community,
The internet and people, like, I think after Cloud Atlas.
Oh, okay. When Cloud Atlas was not nominated for anything that year?
Yeah, that pissed me off a lot.
Right.
A movie that has very intense makeup and very intense costumes was not nominated for anything.
Yeah, I mean, that yellow face was really...
Yeah, no, that was iffy, but, like, the costumes!
The score is definitely what should have gotten a nomination.
Exactly, and the score, too! Oh.
Yeah. But what is your strategy? You did an off topic with Sabrina and Layla, and what's kind of your personal strategy in making these predictions? Do you pay attention to that Oscar genre of sorts, or do you kind of go with your gut? Do you go with like your own preference? I mean, what's the Tony strategy?
I go with my gut a little bit, and like I forget the final tally of our predictions, but we actually did pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like, comparably. Like, I know people on the, like, because as y'all know, I was on the internet a lot Sunday night, and a lot of people were saying, like, oh, I can't believe that, like, I can't believe that one, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I'm like 6 for 6 right now.
Right.
So, I was, like, confused on, like, what everyone was thinking. It was just interesting stuff.
Right. Sabrina, post-game, what are your feelings post-game on your predictions? Like, what was your mindset going in, and how do you feel like you did personally in terms of like not in terms of like the quantity, but just in terms of, oh yeah, I kind of got the jive of what the voters, or I didn't get the jive of what the voters were kind of going for?
I think that I did pretty well. For me personally, there were a couple of categories where the film side of me was more like, okay, realistically, this person would win, but the black woman in me really wants everybody black to win. So there was that. And so anytime that, like, if AP Marvel, like, if we as a podcast, or if me, Tony, and Layla in our little off topic that we did had hypothesized that someone would win, and they didn't, but, like, for example, like Regina King, I counted her as a win, even though we were like, oh, either or. But then for the two Black Panther wins that we weren't expecting, not two. Well, we weren't expecting production design. So for that one, for example,
I said
the favorite.
I also said, like, oh, Black Panther would be cool to win, and then everyone was just like, no, the favorite.
Yeah, I was gunning for the favorite, but I also took Black Panther because I was like, rooting for everybody black. In the past, though, I have never been this invested, I'll say, like, in terms of going through each category and saying who I think will win. I remember 2 years ago, or last year, I think 2 years ago, yeah. They were screening the Oscars in the University Center here on campus, and they were handing out ballots, so I just filled them out based off of what I had previously read. But I think this year I have read the most and learned the absolute most about as many projects as possible, even though, in case some of you don't know, like, I haven't seen any of the Oscar-nominated films except for Into the Spider-Verse and
Black Panther and
Black Klansman. That's it. And which came out, like, Black Panther and Black Klansman came out so long ago.
And you saw Bow.
I've seen, but that's because I saw Incredibles 2, which was also nominated.
Yeah, okay. There you go. See?
So, but I just feel like
and Avengers Infinity War.
despite being incredibly invested in, like, the conversation behind all of the nominees, I hadn't seen anything, and I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more. Yeah. Because I feel like I was able to not get as upset, because, like, everyone who was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, was they were also kind of like Anthony said, like, oh really? You guys didn't see that coming? Because, well, I saw it coming and I read everything. If you pay attention, it's all there.
Yeah. If you paid attention, like, most of these wins were predictable.
Yeah, they were not surprises.
Yeah, like the Rami Malek one, everyone was just like, "Oh, what?" And it's like, no,
did
if
you not watch the
like,
Globes?
I'm upset, but, like, if you paid attention,
yeah,
like, if you paid attention, like, yeah, he was, like, destined to win.
The BAFTAs, like, hello,
Golden Globe.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? There is, it was very funny because I felt like this was gonna be a really big shit show, visually, and also what was winning. And we got the win that I was so happy for. And by so happy, I mean I fucking hated it. With Bohemian Rhapsody winning Best Editing, which is a fucking disgrace. But I knew it was gonna win it. I knew it! Just deep inside of my guts, I knew that movie was gonna fucking win Best Editing, and I hated it. But I loved the nightmare, and yes. That was it. I also think that the aftermath of that win is really funny, because now on Twitter everyone is circulating that video, the lunch scene that we talked about, where it's like, did you see the number of cuts? Did you see the number of fucking cuts in that scene?
Somebody quote tweeted it being like, oh, when your friend's Instagram story is too long, so you got to tap through it. That's right. It was there were no words for people who, like, don't really understand what is so aesthetically pleasing about film editing, like. If there is nothing going on screen, it shouldn't be shown. Yeah. Basically. Like, if you're going to cut to a person's face, but that person isn't saying anything, their face should be saying something.
I have zero educational understanding of film and film editing. But if any logical, sane person watches the film and sees that and doesn't think, what the fuck am I watching? And doesn't get dizzy from watching it, then you're fucking delusional.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, that's a little harsh, but Jesus, I'm so mad about this. I'm so...
Maybe it was just from the sheer ability of stitching together a bunch of disparate scenes from two different directors given the behind-the-scenes shit show. But I don't know. John Ottman
here's the thing.
The editor is a Bryan Singer dude. He has been on all Bryan Singer movies.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. I've heard that, like, that's the reason, and it's like, that's a bullshit reason. Because I saw that scene. That entire scene, like, there was no...
It's bad, not good.
Bad, not good. Like, bad, not good. Bad. So yeah. That was one of the things I was very happy about, that I was, like happy in, like, a, I can't think of the word, in an absurdist sense. But that's why I was really involved in watching it, because I felt, and my main point of this whole rant thing is that I treated it like the Super Bowl, in which both of the teams I had no stake in. So it's like a Super Bowl without the Patriots, because fuck the Patriots. And
Chris Evans was there, so the Patriots were indeed represented loud.
Shut up, thank you. Because if the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, I fucking hate the Patriots. So that means I root for the other team. But if it's two teams that I have no stake in, then I'm just like, you know what? Who gives a fuck? Let the game be fun. Let it be ridiculous. I want a Lady Gaga-esque moment, rappelling down from the skies.
Adam Lambert's gonna be at the halftime show.
Adam Lambert
at the opening, but
I want what happened to Keegan-Michael Kay and Lady Gaga again. I want the ridiculousness. The first 5 seconds, I was just like, this is gonna be so dumb. But I was so upset that it wasn't as dumb as I thought it was going to be. I was just like, we're 5 seconds in, and I already fucking hate it.
Okay, so there was a different investment a different emotional investment this year, just because of the
shit
crazy things that happen in the background, like the whole Kevin Hart thing, and the whole taking off the four categories that would have been during commercials, but ultimately it was not.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I actually enjoyed the show. I enjoyed it, other than the best editing thing and the first 5 seconds and the end result. Because I was like, oh, this is good. This is actually decent content. So yeah, I like a show without a hook.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So here's the thing: when they announced this whole we're not doing a host thing, everyone was like, "Oh my god, literally, what is the point of that? I don't understand." Me included. I was one of these people. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could not have a host of a major awards show. And then I was like, "Well, what does a host even do in terms of the Oscars specifically that announcers or different introducers for each category, presenters, what is the difference?" And the difference is really a monologue in the beginning and a couple of jabs here and there. And when you take that out of the equation, logically and logistically, it makes sense, because why do you need that? But then at the same time, culturally and socially, it would be super nice if you had somebody say something interesting in the beginning.
Amy Poehler and Tina Fey doing that was hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I hated their speech.
Oh, I
didn't hear what they said. I caught on to the Oscars.
I thought it was fine.
Probably
their
9
jokes were
so.
It's just it's such low hanging fruit. Of course they're gonna joke about Trump in the wall. Of course they're gonna joke about there's no host. Those jokes were so easy to make, and they put in no effort. And I'm like,
so I don't care.
On.
There was they weren't gonna be there.
That's their SNL background. So.
It just they just put in no effort, and I was like, come on, man.
I thought it was fine.
Those jokes are so easy to make.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't expect John Mulaney in peak John Mulaney.
It was I would have enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm trying to describe this phrase. I just didn't like his they were just so easy jokes to make. I preferred offer something original, but that didn't happen.
Here's you want to get your fill of funny award show monologue that is not low hanging fruit and is actually really smart comedy. Watch Chelsea Peretti's writing award
Spirit Awards thing?
Not Spirit. Not.
She's hosting. I heard she's hosting Spirit Awards or something.
Oh no, but she's doing like this monologue. She did the monologue for like the SAG Writing Awards or something.
Writers Guild.
Writers Guild. Thank you.
SAG Writers.
Sorry, shut up. So it's very funny. I highly recommend checking that out, Izzy.
Sure. Okay, I think we're establishing like a good baseline on, hey, why do we care about the Oscars? Because the question of this episode is, do the Oscars still matter? So let's rewind a little bit. So I think Sabrina, we were recording the Black Panther episodes on MLK Day, and I think the Oscar nominations were the next morning.
Yeah.
Did you wake up early, or did you just kind of like wake up to the news? Like,
yes, I woke up early. Are you kidding me? Do you know who I am?
I went
online
early in the morning because I'm an adult.
Thanks, Tony.
No, in the sense that like I have a job.
Okay. So yes, I did wake up early that morning when the nominations were announced, and I watched the video. I streamed it and like screenshotted the little things that the little like title cards that they presented, the ones that I was super excited about. I screenshotted some of those, but I remember either last year or 2 years ago, I woke up specifically early because Tiffany Haddish and Andy Serkis were announcing them. Right. And so I screenshotted every single one of those, and I actually still have them in my camera roll, so that was pretty cool to look at. But I was very much invested in the nominees, not surprised because, again, I had read a lot of the literature and I knew what was coming.
I didn't even read the literature. I just paid attention to thoughts that people had.
Huh. Okay.
Sabrina's like trying to hold back laughter.
The will of the voice of the people.
The voice. I hear it. I hear it deep in my bones.
Yes.
That's why I'm a socialist, because I hear it. I just hear it. Like I hear the echoes for freedom.
The Oscars, anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, what the train of thought was, and it sounds like it's a lot of, like, it's like when you auditioned for a middle school play, and you're, like, running up to the board to see who got cast and stuff like that. It's that kind of,
it was like,
get ready to be disappointed or get ready for, like, pleasant surprises, and it sounds like kind of the same thing every year. Is that inaccurate, or is
sometimes. I think it depends on the year, and it depends on, like, if people are actually interested in what's going on. I think the Golden Globes are a really big predictor of what's going to happen. But even then, like, I'm so pissed off that 8th grade got shafted. But
shout out Elsie Fisher and Bo Burnham.
Elsie Fisher out there being awesome.
Elsie K. Fisher, more like Elsie Queen Fisher. Woo! Okay.
Cool. I mean, there's the conversation afterwards is mainly about the snubs, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's about. I remember when the Lego Movie got snubbed, and like that was like a huge uproar. Like it's always about what doesn't. I mean, look at Oscar So White. Like I remember watching the nominations like when I was in like high school, and I remember immediately noticing, oh, all these Best Actor noms are white, and like just right off the bat, like I noticed that, and like those are the things you kind of notice. Like it's so, like it's always like it's always like a balance between like distributing like what you know is like that's presented and what you know is that's not being presented.
Yeah. Speaking of Oscar So White, I mean, there's like I mentioned, there's always a different controversy every year, isn't there? I mean, there's
last year was what
happened
last? What happened last year?
Here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and say this since we're, in an official setting, okay? There is a time to be upset about racial representation. And to be quite honest with you, being upset about it at the Oscars is far too late. Because the Oscars are honoring things that happened in the past year. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's sort of like, looking back on this year, let's recognize all the things that have come out. I think I'm sure I have barely seen the nominees for this year, for Best Picture at least. So I definitely can't speak on behalf of all the films that have come out over the course of the past 365 days. But when it comes to Oscars So White, that was like the biggest polarizing issue because people were paying attention. This is not the first time that we have had only all white nominees, and it will not be the last, because I know that people are like very hopeful and based on like actual statistics of how the Academy has been voting recently. Like, things will change, but it probably will happen again.
But yeah, to add Sabrina's point, I mean, Sabrina's right. I think 10 years down the line when Oscar's So White is like in the distant past, is probably in the distant past. I think if like let's say the Academy like nominates like all white nominees again, then like, you know, it happens. It's fine. I think it was 2015, right? I think, yeah, because it was 2015. That was sort of the year of like rising. I think like sort of like police brutality, like those tensions were at like a huge peak. So I think that's when it started to get noticed. And that's what caused Oscar So White and just like the growing sort of lack of awareness for diversity.
Let's take a quick break because it looks like we're going through a little weird shift. Hey, we're back. Our setup has changed a little bit. I'm still here. Izzy and Tony are still there. Sabrina is technically still here, but she is kind of, she's on the move right now. So this should sound interesting post-production, I think. So let's talk a little bit about Black Panther specifically, since this is a Marvel podcast after all. But how did Black Panther do, everyone?
It did really great. It won three awards. It won Best Costume Design, Best Original Score, and Best Production Design. I know there are qualms about it winning Best Original Score in the sense like it wasn't as like it still wants great. I know like all the teachers were discussing like it might not have been as well deserved as like other categories.
Oh yeah, this is Layla's little insert about the Black Panther score and the win. Should I say it now or?
Sure.
Okay, hold on. Let me get to my room up the stairs so it's more quiet. Okay.
On the street.
So our good old Layla Jordan has mentioned her slight unease with the fact that Black Panther won Best Original Score because Nicholas Bartel, who scored If Beale Street Could Talk, did a fantastic job and deserves just as much, if not more, recognition for his work because, according to Layla, he makes everyone cry. And she says specifically, Beale Street's score transcended the genre, and so Black Panther's win probably came from a conflation of the soundtrack with the score. And Nicholas Bartel is an artist.
I mean,
that's what she says.
Ludwig, what's his last name?
Goransson.
Goransson, yeah.
Ludwig Goransson.
He's got some pull. I mean, he is like one of Childish Gambino's dudes, and as he revealed in his speech, he and Ryan Coogler went to college together, so that's how they know each other, which is really cool also. Yeah, he did Fruitvale, he did Creed. I mean, he has a pretty excellent resume. I really liked the score in Black Panther. I mean, it was loud and epic, so it might have been just more memorable to voters. But I mean, good for him. I mean, I'm sorry that I haven't seen Beale Street, so I couldn't really sympathize with Layla. But I'm always happy for I really like that composer. So
right.
I mean, those three were like really good speeches. I feel. It was Ruth E. Carter for costume design, and is it Hannah Beekler? Is that how you pronounce her name?
Let me check.
Yeah, let me check.
It's like Beekler or Beach. I think it's Beekler.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was first of all, we did it. We beat Suicide Squad. We finally have more Oscars than the DC Extended Universe, whatever you want to call it. Kevin Feige was at the ceremony. Was not wearing a cap, so you can see how bald he was. And that I thought that was really cool. I mean, I felt that Logan getting a best original screenplay, best adapted screenplay nomination last year was kind of a big deal. But I feel like we kind of I don't know why I keep saying we are not Marvel Studios, but I felt that Marvel Studios kind of pushing it a little bit, which is kind of cool to see. I feel like it's very much representative of that new Oscar. Like, if Izzy, your whole thesis was that Black Panther is part of that new Oscar genre. I feel that and Get Out last year kind of signifies that. So I think that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I'm still trying to grapple with it. Like, I'm still trying to grapple with like if being in the Oscar genre is a good or bad thing. I mean, honestly, like I actually don't think like Get Out is as much of an. It definitely has something to say, but I don't think it's as much of an Oscar movie as like these other movies are. And like I didn't even expect it to get nominated for Best Picture, but I was really excited to.
Movie. Huh? I don't think Shape of Water is an Oscar movie.
Yeah, like definitely. Like I think definitely that too. I think those two nominations and like wins like for The Shape of Water and actually Get Out too. Those are really landmark. Like I say in my piece, like arguably Logan being nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, not original, is a little bit more landmark than Black Panther's awards in some capacity because it acknowledges the comic book medium as like a literary art and all, and like a literary art and all that. And
fair, yeah.
Like just that acknowledgement, like I think spoke really big volumes, and it is a great screenplay. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah, I think being in the Oscar genre may not necessarily be a bad thing. It's just like,
I don't even think...
yeah, of course.
I really don't think that we're in the Oscar genre. Like, The Post is in the Oscar genre.
Oh, absolutely.
The movie coming out by Martin Scorsese, The Irishman, that is in the Oscar genre.
You just need to see.
I just needed to see who's in it, who's directing it. I know it's like in the Oscar genre.
Exactly.
When you look at was Creed nominated? Creed 1?
No.
So Creed was?
No, unfortunately.
It was just Sylvester Stallone.
Okay. Oh yes. Oh jeez. Yikes.
I forgot that Creed came out in 2015, right?
Yeah.
That also contributed to Oscar so white.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was it? Like, like there's a bunch of like Vice. Like these are all actual Oscar genre movies. Black Klansman, Black Panther. They're not Oscar genre. I think like they transcended. They were their own genre, and I feel like I feel like there was a lot of other reasons why they picked those movies to be like forefront on the nominations. I think it was because they were popular and they were also poignant in a specific way. Like, okay.
Yeah, I think also, Anthony, sorry, I meant like this is like elaborate, not hurry up.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry, Izzy was doing the hand motion thing, and I thought that meant hurry up, not elaborate. I'm sorry.
And the orchestra starts playing in the background, and that means hurry up.
Yeah, I think as much as I joke, like, oh, you have to have like one person like who has been nominated before, like, be like in your movie to like be again to like get Oscar cred. Like that's like, I mean, like joke about it, like being prominent, but it's like it feels very true because I also agree. Like I think Black Klansman felt like an Oscar movie after it was released because of all the momentum it picked up and like all of its like sort of like its landmark notions. And like after, I mean, I also watched the movie in January. I think it was I watched the movie in January. Like I think like close to nominations. Like I watched it on the plane, and I just knew it was like a really like landmark movie. I think it was nominated for Golden Globes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched it after I heard that, and it didn't feel like an Oscar movie to me. I think some Oscar movies like will definitely not feel like Oscar movies. Like Chicago. I mean, this was years ago. Like Chicago does not feel like an Oscar movie. But I think like, yeah, I think like I'm still trying. Yeah, I think we're just still trying to like draw the line of like, is the Oscar genre good or bad? But I think more than anything, it's just like a sign of like the Academy. It almost feels like the scapegoat as like what the Academy's doing wrong sometimes.
Yeah, I've always, and I'm sorry, we're gonna keep overusing the word genre, but I mean, I've always found it to be a divide between the Oscar movies and genre picks. Genre pick meaning like not a drama, especially not an historical drama or a biopic or something like that, because those have always been Oscar movies to me. So sci-fi, for example, fantasy, like Lord of the Rings, all three of them were nominated for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, to me, it's always been, I think kind of the shift of, when you see kind of more art house pictures taking over, because back in the day, like even Mel Brooks comedy movies would get Oscar nominations, and that's not really the case anymore. You don't get a lot of hard comedies nominated for Oscars, which is why, in theory, like the Golden Globes would handle those because they have a comedy category.
Oh.
But then you get like The Martian.
Yeah.
Which is that was so weird. And Get Out too.
Yeah, exactly. You could construe that as social satire, but like comedy, no, not at all.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I think I think a lot of people track kind of the shift of where maybe back in the day, like more genre pictures might have been nominated. Like I remember reading about how Sigourney Weaver being nominated for Best Actress for playing Ellen Ripley in Aliens was a big landmark thing, because that was sci-fi and action that's a genre. That's a genre picture. And you might see kind of abnormalities, like you might see weird things like Melissa McCarthy nominated for Bridesmaids, which in turn also got a Best Original Screenplay nomination.
Wait, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, she was amazing in that movie.
I mean, that movie is good, but I'm surprised that it got a Best Screenplay nom.
Yeah.
I think like to transition into like your next point. I mean, looking at our notes, to transition into your next point. I know that. So like in our next one of the next points. Actually, no, Chris, you can talk about like our next point. I think it adds more to like this discussion.
Are we talking more about campaigning?
Yes, the campaigning.
Because I feel like the shift kind of happened. A lot of people observed Shakespeare in Love beating Saving Private Ryan in 1999. Shakespeare in Love being a Weinstein joint. Weinstein. Fucking, who cares how to pronounce that motherfucker's name?
I know. It's
yeah, but he's known for campaigning quite aggressively, and I'm sorry to put Harvey Weinstein and the word aggressive in the same sentence, because he's disgusting. I mean, he's even like, I think he was reported as like putting Nathan Lane in a chokehold, for getting mad at him at some point. But like he's just a very angry man. But he is kind of known for innovating the concept of, the for your consideration, behind the scenes, ring kissing thing, So that's why you kind of get weird. I'm trying to think of movies that were not well received but were nominated anyway, probably because of that campaigning. So I think 2012 was 2012, but it was Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Not well received.
Yeah, but
and
still got
it slipped in there.
No. Wasn't it about 9/11? Like with Tom Hanks? Like it felt very Oscar baity.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Same with the Dark Knight controversy that came the same year that The Reader with Kate Winslet, which was not a well received movie, that got one of the 5 slots.
Yeah, like I think the aggressive campaign, because like you're right. Like I think movies before like got more like diverse genres, and I think it is because of basically I think before, because you're right, Chris. Like before, like a lot more like sort of genre or like more diverse movies like were nominated, like Bridesmaids. Johnny Depp being nominated for Pirates of the Caribbean, that's insane to me. I think it is this aggressive campaigning. Like even for Black Panther, they hired, like I know I read this report, they hired like one of the best Oscar campaign managers to handle their campaign. Like this is it just shows like the Academy is politics, and it's a microcosm of our government right now. Like, if you lobby hard enough and if you win over the Academy, like, it's going to get nominated. Like, it may, unfortunately, sometimes it's not necessarily the best. It's if can you convince the Academy that it's the best.
Mm-hmm. And for that reason, I'm kind of questioning why we're so kind of obsessive about this stuff when it just kind of comes down to, secret voting from people who are probably influenced in not totally ideal ways. I mean, granted, I couldn't even tell you because I haven't really looked into it, but like how many members there are, and but every once in a while we get kind of a scandalous article. I think it's Hollywood Reporter. It might be a different publication, but they always kind of publish anonymous thoughts from voters, and they always have like really weirdly controversial things.
Very racist things. I read one of them. It was really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like about Moonlight. That's when we found out about the Academy members who thought that Moonlight wasn't an Oscar film.
I mean, Get Out wasn't an awards movie? Both?
Yes, both. Someone said something super racist about Moonlight, and then I'm conflating the two. And then someone said that Get Out wasn't Oscar worthy. Yeah, that's what it was.
Right. Yeah. Did you read this year's? Like, someone was saying that they were so bored by Roma, and they kept waiting for someone to die.
I know people that actually thought that Roma was boring too, but also they're not an entertain. They need to watch, like, when they're watching something, they need like something to excite them in some capacity.
Right, yeah, but it was like, oh, she's running across the street. Does that mean she's not going to get hit by a car? And then she didn't get hit by a car, and I just kept wondering what was going to happen.
Yes. Like, the problems of the working class is not getting hit by a car. It's getting to work on time.
This person was literally like, we waited until after the credits to see if anything else would happen, and nothing happened. It's like, that's so morbid. It's like, why does something interesting happening equal someone having to die on screen?
I think also that's when we get to the whole, like, oh, well, film people are snobby, and like, I would use this as an example because you shouldn't be going into Roma or any movie and trying to compare it to something that came before it if it's not a prequel.
But here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Saying Roma is an incredibly artistic film that like should have won like, all the accolades is actually more snobby than this fucking comment. Like, are you saying that the person saying that this movie needed someone to die for?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is why the snobby comments come up.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have to go into a film not expecting anything and just take what you get and then like tally up your notes in order to properly analyze it.
Yeah. But this person also expected something that you shouldn't be expecting from freaking like a story. Like come on. I'm so mad. All right. Like and to kind of bring it back to the the whole thing, like what the point of this entire episode is that, like, why do they matter? It matters because it's a cultural phenomenon that, like, you need to become attached to.
Yeah, like the Oscars, like, I mean, whether you like it or not, the Oscars are meant to award movies, and they are the Academy that represents motion picture arts and sciences. So
sciences.
I mean, tech is a STEM, like tech, I don't know. But basically,
sound engineering.
Yeah, but basically, like, they still are the representative party. And in addressing, if you think, like, I forgot my train of thought, but basically, they still represent, like, this entire sort of system. And it's still, and, like, I think it's just become so convoluted that, like, as I've said, they're a microcosm of, like, larger politics, and because of all of that jazz within that, like, it's gonna get convoluted and messy and not reflective most of the time.
So, like, I think it holds. There's obviously the cultural phenomenon that it holds, but like these things are like, I think Marlon Brando actually gave his Oscar away, because he wanted to talk about indigenous peoples being, like, their rights being infringed upon. And, like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's, like, he makes a good point about why, Like no actor is better than another actor, and I'm like, yeah, I get that point, and I think, but like when it comes down to like people of color winning awards, it's not necessarily the award itself, what it culturally represents because of what the Oscars mean in a cultural sense.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily that the fact that like I'm winning this foot tall, like 13-inch tall, 10-pound golden trophy, and I'm better than other people. It's that you recognize that my thing is quality enough
yes.
than other content that was made by predominantly white people. That has so much more significance than just being better than other people. And I think that has something that is significant in some capacity. And ultimately, you know, they're all capitalists, so who gives a shit?
I think also that brings an interesting lens to one of the winners. The winner of the I think it was documentary feature, not documentary feature, documentary short.
Yes.
For period end of sentence.
Yes.
Because who listening and anyone in the world actually knows what's going on with menstruation inequality? Very
outside
few outside of those of us who are educated who actually knows about it. And the fact that story was chosen over all of the other stories in that category is also socially impactful.
Yeah, and I felt the exact same way when I saw the two animators from Bow.
Yeah, crying.
That is incredibly impactful, and that is incredibly important because it's awesome that they won an award, but it shows that, you know, Asian American art animators can do something.
Yeah.
And can tell stories. That is amazing and incredible.
And I think, trying to tie it all together, I don't think the Oscars realize that in this modern day and age.
Yes.
Look at our reaction to the ceremonies. There was no host, and we're like, it's fine. It's maybe in some senses a little better because it was a shorter ceremony.
Yeah,
we don't care about the hosts and the presenters, and really the content. I said I didn't like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's in my real speech, but what I remember most is the joy I felt when Black Klansman won for Best Original Screenplay.
Yes,
and I think it's those emotions that will matter more in a moment. There's so many.
Correct.
I remember
I agree.
I remember Oprah's. I think Oprah's Cecil B. DeMille speech, or the equivalent of that for the Academy Awards or for another award ceremony. And she was saying how she remembered sitting on the TV, seeing Sidney Poitier win, becoming the first Black man to win an Academy Award. And that's what mattered to her. It's not the ceremony itself, it's the prestige, and it's the content, and it's the people who win.
It's not even the prestige. It's what the prestige represents.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the Oscars right now aren't really realizing that, and they're not. And the Oscars aren't really realizing that, and
it's just a bunch of old white dudes,
exactly.
And they still think it's about a fucking it's the end of soccer camp, soccer league, summer Pee-wee soccer league where they hand out trophies to people.
Yeah,
you guys won, you guys did this. It's not like participation trophies, but it's they think the awards are you are better than this. It's that's not the point of this anymore.
Yeah, I think they can. I think we can all agree. Green Book, I think Green Book, I haven't watched a lot of these movies either, but I can't deny the work and effort everyone put into these films. It's well deserved, but I think the Oscars' choice to maybe award to Green Book might have been a little bit misguided, and I think the fundamental flaw with the Oscars, and this can be my closing thought because we have to leave in 5 minutes. We have to close this in 5 minutes. I think the biggest fundamental flaw with the Oscars is that they just aren't aware of how much they represent in this day and age anymore. And honestly, their awards in the ceremony went fairly well. And then after Green Book won, it was just it was
very depressing.
Weird. Yeah, I think it's just a fundamental flaw of the Oscars just don't know what they realize anymore. And even after Green Book won, I was they're kind of done. They're on their last line. I don't even know. I think to fix the Oscars, it's a huge fundamental like shift within the work, like within like their mindset. And unfortunately, their president is old, male, and white, so you can't even
old, rich, male, white dude.
Yeah, and so you're not going to see changes, unfortunately, until 2021,
or probably sooner if they all
die. I think I don't know. I put that in so aggressively. I think that with the next steps for the Oscars, you know, we have seen shifts in our what I'm going to begrudgingly call lower categories. So for the layperson who watches the Oscars, they only care about Best Picture, Best Actors and Actresses, Best Supportings, and that's about it. But for every other category, we have seen some kind of cultural shift or some kind of shift in trying to recognize actual strong contenders.
This is the first time I gave a shit about best editing.
I know that socially it's like a big problem because of what Green Book represents and like how that whole project came to be, which was just a mess from the beginning. But I think also we should remember the positives from the show, because I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Because I feel like with Green Book, when we think about all these old white men who voted for it, they voted for it because it resonated with them. And I feel like that's cool. But we also need them to recognize the cultural like impact that comes with that.
Yes.
So I feel like that second part of getting everybody, every single person in the Academy to understand what their votes really translate to, as Anthony was saying before, is where the Oscars need to go next. Yeah. Where they will go next, nobody knows.
All right, and I'm gonna do my finishing thoughts. So I've had my thoughts about the Green Book thing as a kind of a massive fuck up on multiple levels, in the sense that like there were more black people that won awards in varying categories than were actual people of color on stage who were accepting the award for Green Book, and that baffles my mind. I think it was Mahershala Ali and Octavia Spencer.
Mahershala is how the Southerns pronounced it. It's Mahershala.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just remembered something funny.
Oh my god. Right. Sorry. Oh man. Well,
yeah, that's the Americanized version. Mahershala Ali.
Oh man.
It's okay.
Keep going.
All right. And Octavia Spencer, for some reason, she's an executive producer on the movie. So that was like there was like 3 black people on stage. It was really awkward. It was just a bunch of white people accepting an award about like, racism bad and
Friendship good.
And like that's not even like the problems with the story were beyond refutable. Hold on.
Just keep going.
It's just I think where the Oscars need to go essentially is to remember the good aspects of tonight and carry it forward. No host, actually making a concerted effort for people to have an understanding of like what and as we say begrudgingly, the lesser awards mean, and that type of stuff. And I think, I've already made my piece earlier about like how the cultural impact is so important. And this was one of the first culturally relevant Oscars I kind of sat down and watched. But also, fuck Crash 2.0.
There you go. The final word on that. Ultimately, it's not really... It might not be too relevant for us, the viewers, but it's very relevant for the people who are actually nominated, because that's how they build clout. That's how they get taken seriously. That's why Bradley Cooper's all over the place now, because he got nominated for Silver Linings Playbook, and that let him say, hey, I'm serious. I can make a movie. I can remake A Star is Born. So, hopefully Marvel Studios might have some of that clout now.
Has anyone mentioned how Barbara Streisand came out and said, I'm here to present Black Klansman, and not, I'm here to present Star is Born, the movie I was in!
Easter egg.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of Easter eggs, Trevor Noah on Black Panther with this Kosa phrase, which was actually not what he said. It was actually just look up the joke. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's wrap this up. I'm at Compenderizer. Izzy, where are you on social media?
You can follow me at Delirolin.
Tony, you got a whole Twitter storm about the Oscars. We'll read that.
At the Pizza Taco. I have a lot of things. Just
Sabrina.
type at the Pizza Taco, hashtag the Oscars. Or hashtag Oscars.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Sabrina, social media.
You can find me on Twitter at SabsClarke. That's at SABSCLARKE.
Excellent. You can like AP Marvel on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Medium. Follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a review for us. Please give to our Patreon. You can listen to Sabrina, Tony, and Layla talk about their Oscar predictions. I'm sure it holds up great now. You can read our Marvel musings. I just had one about how I hope the Captain Marvel cat Goose is not a fucking Skrull who's going to scratch out Nick Fury's eye. And you can read Izzy's piece that we mentioned a lot. Layla Jordan should have a piece about specifically about the Oscars results. So we have a lot of Oscars content. We have the AP Marvel Oscars criticism universe up in here. And please join our Discord server and talk about everything about us, from Marvel to media in general, to politics, and, send us your memes. Thanks to Charles Villanueva for his graphic design. Thanks to Steve Maldor for his track Jazz Avengers. And we'll be back next week. We're going to pour one out for Jessica Jones. So stick with us until then. Goodbye.
Yeet me, daddy.
Did you hear what Anthony said just now?
Nothing.
No, just don't. No, you don't need. Yeah, he does. You don't need to know. Just go on.
I didn't say anything.
All right. Let's go.